The Ontario Science Centre acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, Chippewa, Anishinaabeg Nations, Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are settlers on Turtle Island, and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we commit to respect, listen, learn, and support Indigenous peoples with whom we share this land and who have cared for this land since time immemorial. This video will explore the role gender plays in the K-12 STEM classrooms. My name is Rubina, and I'm a teacher at the Ontario Science Centre. This video was designed by a team of science communicators and teachers. As we embarked on this work, we acknowledged and reflected on our own positionality and identities as they impact our perspectives on science education. We have all heard about the gender gap in STEM careers in Canada and the paths that lead students there. Research shows that the field of STEM is growing. From 2010 to 2018, the percentage of post-secondary students graduating with a STEM degree rose from 18.5% to 22.1%. The number of female-identifying STEM graduates increased by 47% over this period, but the number of male-identifying STEM graduates increased by even more. This means that the gender gap between male and female STEM graduates actually increased over this 8-year period. 37% of STEM graduates identified as female in 2010. This had decreased to 36% in 2018. The data also shows that following graduation, men are more likely to enter and remain in a STEM career than women are. Hidden in here is some good news. An increase in formal interest is something to celebrate. One could optimistically consider that this shows there are strategies which are working to encourage more women to enter the field. But the discrepancy in the proportion of enrollment signals to us that there is more we can do. Consistent with post-secondary findings, Canadian high school students demonstrate different attitudes and interests towards STEM depending on their gender. The 2018 PISA data collected from 15-year-old Canadian high school students showed that girls outperform boys in reading, but the reverse is true for mathematics. Results also showed that of top-performing students in science and mathematics, female students were less likely to project they would work in engineering or with technology than males. But interestingly, females were more likely to project becoming a health professional. In elementary school, we find the majority of 10-year-olds hold positive attitudes towards science, but there is a broad gender difference by age 14. There is no gender gap in math and science achievement for grade 8 students. Grade 7 students do not have a good grasp of the importance of science and mathematics subjects for STEM careers at this stage in their lives. The research highlights two main ideas. Students shift away from STEM as they get older, and the shift is more pronounced for non-male identifying students. The second point is the focus of this video. But since gender is often the focus of research, we need to clarify what is meant by gender. Gender is different from X's and Y's. Gender is dynamic, fluid, and socially constructed. Often in research, a person's gender identity is framed as how a person perceives themselves within their societal definitions of masculine or feminine, and these perceptions can change. This in itself is complex, since society will have its own constructions of what is masculine or feminine, which are not universally adopted. Since the research focuses on both gender and the shift away from STEM, let us consider what happens as gender identity develops. This in itself is difficult to trace. Chromosomes and a schedule of hormones are only part of the picture. Social labeling and differential treatment lead each individual to experience a very different path of how they will identify and be identified with respect to gender. As children grow up, their understanding of gender changes. While experts do not agree on an exact age when children recognize the social influence on gender identity, there seems to be agreement that young children, preschool age, feel gender is fixed and independent of social constructs. But somewhere between 8 and 12 years of age, this changes and children recognize gender is influenced by societal factors. Against the backdrop of studies which explore the gender gap in STEM, this awareness seems to coincide with the divergence from STEM career aspirations. It's not that students don't like science. They just don't want to be scientists, or more specifically, some types of scientists. There is ample discussion on this point, and in this video we outline two. One reason to explain the disproportionate representation in STEM is how some STEM fields reject femininity. Even as more women enroll for post-secondary studies in science and technology, physics, electrical engineering, computer science, and mathematics fall behind. These subjects are often considered more masculine due to their perceived difficulty, how students think they are done, and their position contrary to characteristics thought to be feminine. Close your eyes and imagine different areas of STEM when you hear the following words: rational, difficult, clever, profound, changeable, creative. Do the same fields of STEM come to your mind? Do you think they do for your students? For those students who like areas outside of their stereotypical STEM fields as defined by gender, these students have to do extra work to balance choosing these fields with their social currency. Since adolescent students often do not know the value of studying the area for their future career, this extra work can often be difficult for them to do. Another factor contributing to the gender gap in STEM fields, found in multiple studies, is stereotype threat. This occurs when people worry that their performance on a task or evaluation will validate stereotypes about a social group that they belong to. This leads to members of the group underperforming. For example, believing the stereotype that males are better at math has repeatedly been shown to cause females to perform below their capability on a math test. When 10 to 12-year-olds were given 50 seconds to memorize this picture and then 5 minutes to draw it from memory, girls outperformed boys when they were told it was a memory test, but did not perform as well as boys when they were told it was a geometry test. Same test, different context, different results. The effect of stereotype threat on math-related task performance in females has repeatedly been shown to persist through adolescence and adulthood. Barriers students face in STEM are the result of the intersection of their gender identity and other identities, such as sexuality, race, ability, newcomer status. This intersection means that the barriers look different for different people. As a result, the challenges students face are unique, with students from some communities facing interconnected challenges simultaneously, making it even more difficult to think about entering the world of STEM. When we consider these identities, it becomes more important to reflect on how we enact science in our classrooms. If we present science as a static, confined identity, then students whose identities lie outside of those boundaries are less likely to see themselves working in STEM later in their lives. There are numerous ways to increase participation of students in STEM. In this video, we highlight 4 strategies we can use in the classroom as we continue to focus on gender. Using gendered language and gender-based organization in the classroom has been shown to increase the expression of stereotyped attitudes towards gender in preschool and elementary school children. When students are referred to as boys and girls, or asked to divide themselves based on gender, they are reminded of gender-based differences and are more likely to develop gender-based stereotypes. Hands-on experiments in engineering design have the potential to help students build STEM identity and self-efficacy. By assigning roles within a collaborative group that rotate at each workstation, students are given the opportunity to develop different skills, confidence, and recognize one another as capable and contributing members in the activity. To create a safe space for students to contribute anonymously and at their speed, introducing checkpoints in the form of expected and welcomed questions can promote participation. This can take the form of collecting feedback throughout the class, consider a paper or digital parking lot, that you can check periodically. Depending on the class dynamics, you may introduce question groups, who are students who work together to submit questions without individual students being identified by the larger group. As mentioned previously, when students only experience stereotypical images of scientists that don't relate to their own identity, it can lead to lack of STEM identity and stereotype threat. Giving students opportunities to learn about and interact with counter-stereotypical scientists, who students can see themselves reflected in, can mitigate stereotype threat and strengthen their STEM identity. This can be done with virtual guest speakers and resources as simple as featuring scientists' career profiles that highlight their personal journeys. If you do have a scientist visit your class, Invite them to talk about the science and math classes they took in school and how lessons learned from these courses have helped them in their field. All students benefit from these strategies, but they are crucial for students whose gendered identities lie outside of the stereotypes of STEM. We hope that this video and companion resource inspire you and that you take away one reflection or one idea for how you can help remove the barriers that students may face within your power as an educator.